Hello, everyone. My name is Ian, and my creative project is going to be talking about the All Star Superman comics run and how it's an incredible story, not only to read, but also for Superman as a character. Now, for those of you who don't know, Superman, the guy in red and blue tights on your screen, is a alien from another world known as Krypton, which was a world torn apart by war and exploitation of natural resources. Now, Superman's father, Jor-El, a brilliant scientist, had seen coming the destruction of the planet and thus had sent Superman away to far off space, not knowing where he'd land. And eventually, right after he left, after Superman left at least, Krypton would detonate. It would blow up. Now, that left Superman hurtling through space, whereupon which he landed on Earth in the United States fictional town of Smallville. And he was raised by the local farmers whose farm he had crashed into, and their names were John and Martha Kent. Now, John and Martha Kent decided to take the infant son in, along with his pod, and named him Clark Kent. And so Clark Kent was raised as an average human being until eventually his powers, which Kryptonians gain due to being exposed to the yellow sun, began awakening. Clark soon discovered that he could do any number of things, like move faster than a speeding bullet, fly. He had super strength, laser eyes, freeze breath, X-ray vision. He had a myriad of abilities that clearly nobody else did. And so that brings us to this specific rendition of a certain Superman storyline. Now, All Star Superman was published by DC Comics, and the series ran from November 25th to October 28th. The series was written by Grant Morrison and drawn by Frank Quitely, and digitally inked by Jamie Grant. The series revolves around Superman, who is dying due to overexposure to the sun as he accomplishes many heroic feats, the 12 labors of Superman, and attempts to make peace with the world before his imminent death. Now, first, as a sort of explanation, Superman, again, as stated before, his Kryptonian biology gets his powers from the sun. Now, overexposure to the sun, it does make his powers stronger, and All-Star Superman is by far one of the strongest variant, stories of Superman to date. Now, of course, at the same time, this overexposure to the sun has introduced him to lots and lots of solar radiation, lethal amounts. However, he will not die immediately. Now, if you'll see the illustrations here. So, basically, Superman has a countdown. And so, within that time, he is forced to come to a reality that he never has before. Now, as a Kryptonian, under a yellow sun, he is basically akin to a god. He is unkillable, he is unbeatable, he is just an ultra powerful being. Now, of course, he uses these powers for good, but that also means that he isn't able to relate to certain things as humans are. Now, one of these many things is mortality. And that is what Superman is forced to come to terms with. And through his coming to terms with this, he essentially is. We get to see a whole new side of his character, basically. And what he does, obviously, is he does 12 good acts that I don't quite have listed right here, right now. But his whole goal is to leave a mark on the world. So, nearing death, Superman accomplishes the 12 labors of Superman, which are a variety of tasks that significantly help both humans and Kryptonians. Well, little known thing, there are a few Kryptonians that survived on a like city that was shrunken down by a villain known as Brainiac, but that's a story for another time in another place. And in addition to this, he completes his last will and testament. Now, while he is going about the 12 labors of Superman, there is a moment in the comics that is very impactful. Now, if we go over to the next slide, we see this young boy here whose name is Reagan, and he is standing on a ledge with clearly either given by his demeanor and his facial expression, he plans to jump. Now, as you can see, Superman comes down and assures Reagan that his doctor, or what I assume to be a therapist or something like that, really was held up in traffic or by some other means. And he reassures the kid that it's not as bad as it seems, and he's much stronger than he thinks he is. And this show of humanity from a being such as Superman is really impactful. Because Superman, he can bench press planets, and there are villains on the loose, and there's all that, but he takes the time. He hears the cries of this young boy on the top of a roof, and he goes to save and comfort him. And this truly shows who Superman is. He isn't just some brute beating up villains. He isn't some ultra powerful thing to be feared. He's an uncorruptible beacon of hope for humanity. And that is even proven in his last moments. Now, I don't have a slide for this, but throughout the course of the story, eventually Lex Luthor, who is a main villain of Superman, basically he starts wreaking havoc on the city with I believe, a living sun. And now what happens is Superman is trying to fight them and to get to the Daily Planet to save the people he cares about. However, he falls dead. Now, of course, he finds himself back on Krypton, meeting his father, both of which are supposedly dead. Now, Jor-El's father says that he is becoming a solar radio consciousness and is giving Superman a choice. Either become join the other citizens of Krypton, or go return to life and save the world. And that's exactly what Superman does. He stops Luthor, stops the sun, and along the way, I believe the original sun, like Sol, our sun, got destabilized along the way or something similar. And Superman declares his love for Lois Lane, his love interest in the story, and he leaves to go. And basically, he becomes a solar construct within the sun. And 1 year later, it cuts to Superman in the sun, basically working mechanisms to keep it alive and running, a final sacrifice for the good of all life on Earth. Now, coming to the actual evaluation part of this. This, what this story does, unlike so many, is that it shows how human Superman is. It shows how he has his own aspirations and how he, just like anybody else, doesn't want to die. And however, despite whatever fear that he may have, whatever he may be facing, he still serves as a hero. He serves as a symbol to the people and as a sort of guardian of all, including Reagan, the boy. And there are many stories where Superman is either just like a berserker who's hostile and suspicious of other people, ones where he's an evil dictator, ones where he's pushed to a breaking point and he finally snaps. And to be frank, that isn't what Superman is. He was made to be a symbol of hope to the world. And that's what he is here. This is the epitome of what he is. He is human, but he is also a god. And you get to see both of them on display in this comic, and it's beautifully written. So, thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye bye.